Hello everyone, we're continuing our share in Dishu Bahalacha. We are holding on Reish Mem Hey Amid Aleph. We are in Siman Shin Ayin Hey, and we left off yesterday, excuse me, I'm sorry. We left off yesterday in the middle of Mishnah Berurah. We are in middle of Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Yud Aleph. That Mishnah Berurah actually begins on the last line of Reish Mem Dalet Amid Beis, but we did that piece. We are holding right next to the Ois Katan Zayin for the Shar Hatzion. So it's in my Mishnah Berurah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down in the Mishnah Berurah, in the middle of the line, beginning with the word bar. So the Mishnah Berurah says like this: Bar shebechatzer shel b'nei hamirpeset u'b'nei hachatzer b'shutvis. If you remember, what we have been talking about the whole time over here in Shin Ayin Hey is we have a chutzner and we have a mirpeset. We have a ground level chutzner, and we have apartments or houses opening up onto the chutzner. We have a second story porch, a gallery that has apartments or diras opening up onto it. We have a staircase or a ladder that goes from the chutzner up into the mirpeset, and we have said that the mirpeset and the chutzner are considered two different rishuyos with a pesach between them, and we've been speaking about the din of items that are between, surfaces that are located between the mirpeset and the chutzner. For example, if you had a pillar that's standing on the ground level of the chutzner and it goes up, and now that upper surface can be used both by the chutzner people, both by the mirpeset people, and now we wanted to know whose eruv is it included in. If the mirpeset people made one eruv and the chutzner people made another eruv, what do we do with this surface? And we said basically that the rule is, if that surface is usable for both the mirpeset people and the chutzner people, benachas, if each one could use it easily, or if each one could use it with difficulty, if they're equal, then they bang heads with each other, then they're going to aser each other, and nobody could use that surface for a keli sheshavas babayis. If for one of them they have easy access, so for example we said, let's say you have this amud, this pillar, standing on the ground level of the chutzner, and it's lower than 10 tvachim, so then the people from the chutzner have easy access to it. It's less than 10 tvachim tall. If for the mirpeset people it's difficult to use it because from them it's lower than 10 tvachim. It's let's say it's 12 tvachim beneath the level of the mirpeset. So for them it's tashmishay b'kasha. For them they only have difficult access. So since the chutzner people have easy access and the mirpeset people have difficult access, it goes to the chutzner people, not to the mirpeset people. Now the Chavetz Chaim over here is discussing the case of a bar. Let's say there's a water cistern that's located on the ground level of the chutzner. Bar shebechatzer, you have this cistern that's down in the chutzner. Shal b'nei mirpeset u'b'nei hachatzer b'shutvis. But the cistern belongs both to the people who live in the chutzner and to the people who live in the mirpeset. It was built into the chutzner for both of their use. It doesn't belong to one to the exclusion of the other. It belongs to both of them. Umakifasai chulya gavaya asar tvachim. And the water, the opening of this bar, this cistern, is surrounded by a berm. It has let's say an earthen berm built up around the edge. And that berm, that raised area around the bar, is 10 tfachim tall. So now, let's just visualize this in our mind. We have an interesting case over here. For the people that are in the chutzner, how do they get water from the bar? They have to take, let's say, a bucket. They have to raise it up more than 10 tfachim, because the berm is 10 tfachim tall, and they have to clear the berm. So they have to go up 10 tfachim, and then they could first go down into the cistern. So for them, essentially, this pit is tashmisha b'kasha, because we always use the measurement of 10 tfachim. That's how we decide if it's b'kasha or b'nachas. And in this case, they have to go up more than 10 tfachim. So for them, it's tashmisha b'kasha. For the people that are upstairs in the mirpeset, well, that depends how you look at it. Let's say the mirpeset is 10 tfachim raised over the level of the chutzner, and the berm is 10 tfachim tall. So the top of the berm is very close to the level of the mirpeset. But where's the water level? the water doesn't come all the way up to the top of the berm. The water level is usually either at ground level or lower. So for the people in the Mirpeset, they also have to lower their bucket more than 10 tefachim to get to the water. By lowering the bucket 10 tefachim, they get within the airspace that's within the berm, but they don't get down to the water. So based on that, let's see what the Chavetz Chaim says. Bar shebakatzer shebnei Mirpeset b'nei achatzer b'shutvis u'makifasa chulyu gavaya asar tefachim u'smucha lemirpeset b'sayich arba tefachim, and the cistern is within 4 tefachim laterally to the Mirpeset. It's not distant. It's not more than 4 tefachim distant from the Mirpeset. So in that context, it's also tashmishoy benachas for the people of the Mirpeset. Oisrin zeh al zeh, the Mirpeset and the Chotzer are going to aser on each other. Kishaloi ervu yachad, if they don't join in a combined erev. Lemalois mayim, to fill up water from the cistern, bidli, using a bucket, sheshavas babayis oy ba'aliyos, that started out Shabbos either in one of the botim of the Chotzer or one of the units of the Aliyah. V'chein lahaknes hamayim lebateim. Also, they can't draw water out of the cistern and bring it into any of the diras, not into the diras of the Chotzer or into the diras of the Aliyah. So basically what the Chavetz Chaim is telling me over here is, we view this cistern as being tashmishoy bekoshe, both to the Chotzer and to the Mirpeset. Both the residents of the Chotzer and the residents of the Mirpeset only have difficult access to this water cistern, because no matter how you cut it, for the people in the Chotzer, they have to raise the bucket over 10 tvachim, and it's only then that they can get into the bar. From the people of the Mirpeset, they have to be mishalshal, they have to lower the bucket down more than 10 tvachim to get to the water. So it's tashmishay bekoshe for both of them. Since it's tashmishay bekoshe to both of them, what's the halacha? They're going to aser on each other. We're not going to give the bar, the cistern, to the people who live on the Mirpeset. You might think we should give it to the Bnei Mirpeset. Why? Because we said that the berm is 10 tefachim tall. So the height of the berm is within 10 tefachim of the residents of the Mirpeset. So maybe we should give it to the Mirpeset people. The Chavetz Chaim says no. We don't give it to the Bnei Mirpeset. Why? Because they also only have difficult access to the cistern, because they have to lower the bucket more than 10 tefachim to get down to the water level. Now the Chavetz Chaim says an interesting chiddush. Even if you'll give me a case where the water level of the cistern actually goes all the way up to the top of the berm, and now the actual water level is going up all the way to the top. So now maybe you should give it to the Bnei Mirpeset. Still we don't give it to the Bnei Mirpeset. Why? Mishum gzeira shemayachzeru hamayim b'Shabbos, because we're worried maybe the water level will go down on Shabbos, v'yishtamshu bai kevatchila, and the people of the Mirpeset will not realize that the water level went down, and they'll continue to use it. We don't want that to happen. However, if you have the same scenario where you have this bar exactly the same way we just described it, but the bar is not full of water. The bar, instead of being full of water, the bar is full of stuff that's muktzah on Shabbos. The bar is full of stuff that you're not going to remove on Shabbos. Then, harehu ka'amid oitel gavaya asara mechotzer. So, again, if this pit with the 10 tefach berm around it is full of something that cannot be removed on Shabbos, so then essentially what you have, and it's full all the way up to the top of the berm. So now you have a surface. Let's say you have this pit is full of rocks, it's full of gravel, and it's full of gravel all the way up to the top of the berm. So the upper surface of the pit, the upper surface of this gravel-filled pit, is within 10 tefachim height-wise of the Mirpeset. So then it's going to belong to the Mirpeset, because then it's tashmishay benachas to the Bnei Mirpeset, and it's tashmishay bekoshet to the Bnei Chotzer. If the pit is full all the way to the top of the berm with stuff that's not going to be removed on Shabbos, then so then it becomes like a pillar or like a mound that's more than 10 tefachim high or 10 tefachim high from the ground level of the chutzner. And height-wise, it's within 10 tefachim of the merpeset. Then we give it to the residents of the merpeset. As long as it's not laterally removed from the bnei merpeset 4 tefachim in distance. If it would be, then it would be tashmishay kasha for them and for the bnei chatzar, and then they would answer on each other. V'chanal lehishtamesh al gaba. So in this case that we just described, where it's within 10 tefachim height-wise of the bnei merpeset, and it's within 4 tefachim laterally to the bnei merpeset, and it's above 10 tefachim for the bnei chatzar, so then what do we do with it? Then we give it to the bnei ha-merpeset. Sorry, I keep on playing with the lamp over here. It's hard for me to see the screen, and I'm trying to make sure that you have decent lighting and you can see me somewhat clearly. Okay. Now we're going to go into Sif Gimel. Now I have to tell you that Sif Gimel is a very, very difficult Sif. It's a very, very strange Sif Gimel. You're going to see that the Mechaber does not explain very much what he means. The Mishnah Berurah has very, very little to say. And if you look in the Bir Halacha, in Dibra Maschel Hoysam Atzeva Arba Tvachim, you find a rather astonishing thing. You find that this Sif is drawn from a Rambam. Now the Beis Yosef, right, that's the Mechaber. Rabbi Yosef Kairoi wrote the Beis Yosef on the Torah, and he's also the Mechaber on the Shulchan Aruch. So the Mechaber of the Shulchan Aruch, Beis Yosef, same person. The Beis Yosef brings this Rambam, and when the Beis Yosef brings this Rambam, he asks a Temuah on the Rambam. He's very puzzled by this Rambam. And he doesn't really seem to have an answer to what was puzzling him. And yet, he saw fit to bring this halacha here in the Shulchan Aruch. And I have to tell you that it's very, very difficult to decipher what this Sif means. And after we read, I'll give you the background of the Gemara, so you see where the Rambam is coming from. And then I'll tell you a very, very interesting Chazon Ish. So we have a Gemara. The Gemara says the following. The Gemara gives kind of the same type of case that we've been talking about for this whole Siman. The Gemara is discussing the case of the Chatzar and the Merpeset. But the Gemara says something very interesting. The Gemara says you have the people who live in the Chatzar and you have the people who live in the Merpeset, and they did not make a joint Erev together. So the halacha is that they're going to aser on each other. They aser on each other. So the Gemara clearly is saying that the Bnei HaChotzer and the Bnei HaMerpeset are not seen as two separate entities, whereby they could make their separate Eruvin. Rather, the Gemara seems to say that the Bnei HaChotzer and the Bnei HaMerpeset are one. Now clearly that flies in the face of everything that we've said until now. But the Gemara says, however, if they make what the Gemara calls a daka, if they make a daka, which connotes something very small or very thin, if they make a daka, then this daka, and we'll have to explain what this daka is, this daka serves to make a separation between the Bnei HaMerpeset and the Bnei HaChotzer, and then they don't aser on each other. That's what the Gemara says. Now the first problem that the Gemara has over there in Eruvin, this is on Nun Tes Amid Beis and Samach Amid Aleph. The first problem that the Gemara has to deal with is, why are we looking at the Bnei HaMerpeset and the Bnei HaChotzer as one entity? L'chari, the Bnei HaMerpeset and the Bnei HaChotzer are two different chatzeros. So the Gemara says that we must be talking over there in the Gemara about a case where the Merpeset is a less than 10 tefachim above the Chotzer. Over here in Shenayin Hay, we've always been talking about where the porch level, the Merpeset level, is at least 10 tefachim higher than the Chotzer. And that's why we see them as two different chatzeros. However, if it's not, if the Merpeset is lower than 10 tefachim, so now it's not considered to be removed from the Chotzer, it's considered to be one with the Chotzer. So then the Gemara asks, okay, if it's less than 10 tefachim off of the Chotzer, so then what is this daka? What does this daka do? How is it that by making this daka, suddenly now you're separating the chotzer and the mirpeset? And what the Gemara says is as follows. The Gemara says that we're talking about a case where you have this mirpeset. The mirpeset is less than 10 tfachim removed from the chotzer. So let's say the level of the mirpeset is 8 tfachim above the chotzer. So normally you would look at it as being part of the chotzer. But they made a gate, they made a fence around the mirpeset. The mirpeset has a railing. And the railing is tall. So the railing serves to separate the mirpeset from the chotzer. Oh, so why do we need a daka? What's a daka? Oh, so the problem is like this. They made a railing on the mirpeset. However, they left an opening in the railing that's 10 amos wide. Now we know from everything we've learned previously that when you have an opening in a fence or a railing that's more than 10 amos wide, that opening is not considered a pesach, it's considered a breach. So what do we have now? Now we have a chotzer and a mirpeset. We have a mirpeset that's less than 10 tfachim removed from the chotzer. So really it should be considered part of the chotzer. But there's a railing. The railing theoretically would serve to separate the mirpeset from the chotzer. However, there's a breach in the railing. And that breach, again, should make them together. So what did they do? They built a daka. What's a daka? A daka is a low wall. According to the way the Mishnah Berurah understands our Seif over here, the daka is a wall that's 4 tefachim tall. So you have a 4 tefach tall little wall that's closing that 10 amma wide gap where they neglected to make the railing on the mirpeset. And what the Gemara is saying is, now you take the whole situation, you look at the whole situation together, and what you say is, look, I'm dealing with a mirpeset that is raised off of the level of the chotzer. It's true it's not raised enough, so that's a problem. But it also does have a railing. Yeah, it has a railing, but the railing has a breach, and the breach is a problem. But the breach is closed by a daka. So, since it's a raised mirpeset, and it has a railing, and even where it's opened, it has a daka, that serves to close up the gap. That is the Gemara in Eruvin. Okay, based on that Gemara in Eruvin, we have a Rambam. The Rambam, first, the beginning of this Rambam, talks about the halachas that we had over here in Seif Beis. One of the halachas that we had in Seif Beis is, we were talking about what do you do with these various surfaces that are in the chotzer, like the amud. You have a pillar that's in the chotzer, and now we wanted to know, how do we decide who it belongs to? Does this raised pillar, does the top surface of this pillar belong to the bnei chotzer, or does it belong to the bnei mirpeset? So the Rambam goes through that halacha, and the Rambam basically lays out what we've seen, that it depends. The one who has tashmisha benachas, the area that has easy access to that surface, that's who gets it. The one who's tashmisha b'kosher, they lose it. If it's tashmisha benachas to both, or tashmisha b'kosher to both, then they answer on each other. The Rambam goes through that whole halacha. Then the Rambam says, but you should know, if there's a matzeva. Now what's a matzeva in English? We usually call it a monument. If there's some kind of binyan that separates, I just want to take a quick look in the Rambam. I forgot if the Rambam gives a size. The Rambam says, Hoysa matzeva. If there was a matzeva, some kind of a construct, rechava arba tvachim, that is 4 tvachim wide, lifnei hamirpeset, in front of the mirpeset. Now I don't know what this means exactly. We'll have to see what this means. What does it mean in front of the mirpeset? If there is a matzeva in front of the mirpeset, ein hamirpeset oiseres al bnei achotzer, then the mirpeset does not aser on the bnei achotzer, shaharei nechleka mehen, because now they're considered to be separate from them. Now the problem is, what exactly is this Rambam talking about? What does the Rambam mean? What's the case? So, if we look here in the Shulchan Aruch, let's read the words of the Mechaber over here at Seif Gimel. Says the Mechaber, Hoysa matzeva arba tvachim lifnei mirpeset. You have this matzeva that is in front of the mirpeset. Says the Mishnah Berurah, in Ice Cut and Yud Beis, arba tvachim. What does this mean that the matzeva is 4 tvachim? Begoiva shelo. He means in the height. Now, it's very interesting that he says over here that it means the height, because I just read you the Rambam, and the Rambam says it's the width. But if you look in the Sha'ar Tzion, the Chavetz Chaim says that he got this, that it means the height. He's taking this from the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram says that it means the height. Now, we're learning Mishnah Berurah, so we're going to focus on the Chavetz Chaim. So according to the Chavetz Chaim, what the Mechaber means over here is, there is this matzeva, there is this ambiguous construct, this monument, that is 4 tefachim tall, and it is lifnei hamirpeset. It's in front of the mirpeset. I don't know what that means. It's in front of the mirpeset. And if you notice, there's no Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah doesn't say what it means. What does it mean it's in front of the mirpeset? Where is it? We'll get to that in a minute. So what's the halacha? Ein hamirpeset oiseres al bnei achotzer. The people who live in the mirpeset do not aser on the people who live in the chotzer, shaharei nechleka mehem, because by virtue of this matzeva, they are considered to be separate from the bnei achotzer. So before I say anything else, let's go back into the Mishnah Berurah, into Ois Katan Yud Gimel. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ein hamirpeset oiseres. What does this mean that the people who live on the mirpeset don't aser on the bnei achotzer? So the Chavetz Chaim is now going to tell me, and this flows from the Magid Mishnah on the Rambam, that what we're talking about over here is we're talking about the halacha of the amud in the chotzer. Because like I told you, where does the Rambam put this halacha? The Rambam puts this ambiguous halacha right after he discusses the halacha of the amud. So what the Magid Mishnah says is, what the Rambam seems to be saying is as follows. We had this whole halacha of the amud. And we said that the halacha of the amud is that sometimes the amud belongs to the bnei hamirpeset, and sometimes the amud belongs to the bnei achotzer. Says the Rambam, you should know, and we have cases where the amud belongs to both of them, right? Let's say it's tashmisha benachas to both the bnei achotzer and to the bnei hamirpeset. If it's within 10 tefachim of the ground level, and it's within 10 tefachim of the mirpeset level, so now we said that really the amud belongs to both of them, and therefore they aser on each other. So we had these cases where the bnei mirpeset and the bnei achotzer aser on each other. In the context of that halacha, says the Rambam, you should know that if there is a matzeva in front of the mirpeset, then they don't aser on each other. Oh, so what does the Rambam seem to be saying? There is some kind of matzeva that is separating between the mirpeset and the chotzer. And by virtue of this matzeva, we're considering the bnei mirpeset to be totally removed from the chotzer, and therefore, even if there is an amud in the chotzer, and that amud is tashmisha benachas to the mirpeset, and it's tashmisha bekoshet to the chotzer, so normally we would give that amud to the bnei mirpeset, or at least if it was a case where it was tashmisha benachas to both of them, we would say that they aser on each other. But if there's a matzeva that cuts the bnei hamirpeset off from the chotzer, then they have no shaychis to the amud. And then if it's tashmisha benachas to both of them, the bnei chotzer get it. They don't aser on each other. Why? Because the bnei hamirpeset are removed from it by virtue of the matzeva. How about if it's tashmisha benachas to the bnei hamirpeset and tashmisha bekoshet to the bnei chotzer? I think still the bnei chotzer get it, because again the bnei hamirpeset are removed from it by virtue of this matzeva. So now we understand the halacha that the Rambam seems to be saying. The halacha is that there is this concept of a matzeva that will separate the bnei hamirpeset from the bnei chotzer in the context of the halacha of the amud. What we still don't understand is, where is the mirpeset? I wish I had a definitive answer for you. I do not have a definitive answer for where this mirpeset is. I have some thoughts, and I'll give you my thoughts. One thought is, and I think I now found this in the Kaf HaChaim, one thought is that this matzeva is some kind of a low wall that is built in front of the building that has the mirpeset. It's built on the ground level, and it goes for the entire length of the mirpeset. Now, what does that wall do? When you come down your staircase from the mirpeset, you come down, and when you hit the ground level of the chotzer, you're not open to the chotzer. There is this low wall that separates an area, it cuts the area off where the staircase comes down to the chutzner, so that if you come down from the merpeset to the chutzner, you don't have free open access to the chutzner. Instead, you're walled in by this matzeva. Therefore, this matzeva serves to cut you off from the chutzner. Now, let's just visualize this in our heads. Let's say you have the merpeset, you have the staircase that comes off the merpeset, and this low wall is built 2 tfachim laterally distant from the building that has the merpeset. And then 1 tefach on the other side, you've got an amud. So you could have a case where you have an amud that is within 4 tfachim distant of the merpeset, and within 10 tfachim height-wise of the merpeset, and really you should give that amud to the bnei merpeset, but you don't, because since it's built on the ground of the chutzner outside of that low matzeva, it belongs to the chutzner, not to the merpeset. One problem with this is that pashtus, this matzeva, it sounds like from the Rambam that this matzeva has to be 4 tfachim wide. If it has to be 4 tfachim wide, then automatically this amud would be more than 4 tfachim laterally removed from the merpeset. Okay. Or you could say that maybe this matzeva does not go for the full length in the merpeset. Maybe this matzeva is only built where the staircase comes down from the merpeset. So it doesn't go the full length of the merpeset, but where they come down to the chutzner, that's where this matzeva is. And the amud is built alongside the merpeset where there's no matzeva. So it could be the amud is built all the way up against the building. And now it's definitely within 4 tfachim of the bnei merpeset, and maybe it's within 10 tfachim of height of the bnei merpeset. But since the bnei merpeset come down their steps, and when they come down their steps, there's a matzeva that denies them access to the chutzner, it removes them from the chutzner, and therefore they lose the amud. That's one possible pshat. Another pshat that I could give you is like this. You have the merpeset. The merpeset is more than 10 tfachim high off of the ground level of the chutzner, because that's what we've been talking about in the entire Shin Ayin Hay. And the merpeset has no railing. Who said the merpeset has a railing? And instead of a railing, what is there? There's a daka, there's a matzeva, there's a very low railing, there's a 4 tefach tall railing. And it could be what the Machaber, coming from the Rambam, is telling me over here is, you should know that this whole halacha, where you're going to give the amud to the bnei merpeset, is only when the merpeset has no railing. Now, even though the merpeset doesn't have a railing, it's still removed from the chutzner because it's more than 10 tefachim off of the chutzner. And that's when the whole halacha is true of the amud, where you would consider giving the amud to the bnei merpeset. But if the merpeset has a railing, even if that railing is only a daka, even if it's only 4 tefachim tall, maybe that serves to cut them off from the chutzner, and now they would never get the amud. This is my understanding in Siv Gimel. I hope you followed everything that I said here. I hope I'm right. I'm mispal that the Rebbeinu Shalom should not put me in a position where I'm saying anything that's false. Certainly, if there's any shaila halach lamaisa, somebody should ask a rav and get a definitive psak on that particular situation. Okay, now let's take a look in Mishnah Berurah Eis Kat and Yud Gimel. Ein amr peset oiseres v'tzayne loymar afilu atel v'amud asmuch lo b'secha bo tfachim v'gavaya asar tfachim. Even if there's a tail or an amud, a mound or a pillar, and it is within 4 tfachim laterally to the bnei merpeset, and it's 10 tfachim tall, so it should belong to the bnei merpeset. Still, the bnei merpeset are not going to asar on the bnei chutzner, and the bnei chutzner are going to get that tail or that amud. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Why? Shekemen she'asu hefsik liftei merpeset, because since this matzeva is making a hefsik, is making a division between the bnei merpeset and the chutzner, gilu daitam, by virtue of that matzeva, they reveal their intent, shesilku atzmam min chutzner, that they have removed themselves from the chutzner, and they no longer have any rights to a tail or an amud that are built in the chutzner. Okay. Let's go on to Sif Daled. Says the Machaber, Zizim hayotzim mehaksalim, protrusions. These are like ledges that are built on the wall of the building. So again, we have a chutzner, we have a building. The building has a 2nd story merpeset. It has a 2nd story gallery where there are apartments that open up onto a porch. And there are ledges that come off the wall of this building. What's the din of those ledges? Says the Machaber, And this flows from everything we've seen until now. Any ledge that is lower than 10 tvachim to the ground, to the chutzner, those belong to the chutzner, and the bnei chutzner are allowed to use them for kelim sheshavsu babayis. And any ledges that are above 10 tvachim, they belong to the upstairs people. Now, okay, I neglected to mention something over here, which is very important to our proper understanding over here. We are talking over here in a case where the mirpeset is, let's say, 25 tfachim off of the ground level. All right? So when the Mechaber says over here, let's just see these words again, I'm sorry. The Mechaber said, Kol shehu lamata me'asar tfachim. Any of these ledges that are less than 10 tfachim off the ground. So those ledges are going to belong to the bnei chutzner because they are tashmishay benakas to the bnei chutzner. It's within 10 tfachim of them height-wise, and they're tashmishay bekosher to the bnei mirpeset, because we're saying that the mirpeset is 25 tfachim off the ground. So if the ledge is 10 tfachim off the ground, it's within 10 tfachim of the bnei chutzner, so for them it's tashmisha benachas, but it's 15 tfachim away from the bnei mirpeset. So for them it's tashmisha bekosher. Therefore it belongs to the bnei chutzner. Hareza nechsha me'achotzer, it belongs to the chutzner. The people who live in the chutzner are allowed to use it for kelim sheshavsu babayis. And any ledge that's within 10 tfachim height-wise of the level of the mirpeset, so for them it's tashmisha benachas, and if it's within 10 tfachim of them, it's at least 15 tfachim removed from the chutzner, so then it belongs to the aliyah. Anchi aliyah mishtamshim bay, those belong to the anchi aliyah. V'hanishar bein asara atachtoinim, any ledge that is between, it's more than 10 tfachim off the ground, ad tchilas asara ha'elyonim, but it's also more than 10 tfachim lower than the mirpeset, min aziz and ayotzim, those ledges, shneim asurim bay. So then it's tashmisha bekosher for both of them. So let's say you have a ledge that is at the 12 tefach mark from off the ground. So it's more than 10 tefachim high off the bnei chutzner. So it's tashmisha bekosher for them. It's more than 10 tefachim removed height-wise from the bnei mirpeset because they're at 25. So this is more than 10 tefachim removed from them. So it's tashmisha bekosher to both of them. They're equal. Since they're equal, they answer on each other. And now no one will be able to use those izim, those ledges, unless they will make a joint combined erev. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cutting your dalet. Zizim ayotzim. Gam zeh hasif. We're talking over here where the Bnei HaChotzner made their own Erev and the Bnei HaAliyah made their own Erev. That's why they're two separate entities. V'shahazizim, and these ledges, the ledges belong to both the people who live upstairs and the people who live downstairs, right? It belongs to both of them. If it belonged to one of them, then we wouldn't have this whole issue. Also, the ledges have to be at least daled al daled. If they're not 4 tvachim, heavy makom ptur. Then we would look at these ledges as being bottled to both chatzeros. So theoretically, if we had a ledge sticking off of the wall, and this ledge was even tashmishay benachas to both the bnei chutzner and the bnei mirpeset, so you would want to say that they aser on each other because they're equal. If they're not daled al daled, they don't aser on each other because remember, we always say that a surface that's not daled al daled is a makom ptur, and it could be bottled to both chatzeros. If you have a ledge that's in the middle, So it's more than 10 tefachim removed from the Bnei HaChatzer, and it's also more than 10 tefachim removed from the Bnei HaMirpeset. Myri, we're talking about a case over here. This is what I told you at the outset. We're talking about a case where the Bnei HaMirpeset are more than 20 tefachim off of the level of the Chatzer. You could have a case where it's less than 20, and the ziz is exactly, the ledge is exactly in the middle. And now you don't have 10 to either one, so it's tashmisha benachas to both of them. Okay, I think we have time to go a little bit weiter, so we'll start Siman Shin Ayin Vav. Siman Shin Ayin Vav. Bar, if you have a pit, ube'er, a well, so you have a water cistern or a well, shebein shtei chatzeros, that is located between two chatzeros. What is the status of this well, or this water hole, this cistern? Ubai dalet seifim, and we have over here 4 seifim. So first, let me just give you the case over here. We have two chatzeros that are right next to each other. We have chatzer A, chatzer B, they're right next to each other. They're separated by a wall. They're separated by a wall that's more than 10 tefachim tall. The wall has no gate. There's no opening in the wall to allow Chatzer A and Chatzer B to make a joint combined Eruv. So these are totally two distinct Chatzeros. They have to make their own separate Eruvin. They cannot combine into one joint combined Eruv because they don't have a Pesach or a Chaloin. They have no opening. Now you have an interesting situation. There is a cistern, there's a water hole, there's some kind of pond that they draw water from. And guess where it is? It's right in the middle between the two chatzeros. It goes under the wall that divides the two chatzeros. So that there's an opening to the pond from Chatzer A. There's also an opening to the pond from Chatzer B. And Chatzer A and Chatzer B made their own separate Eruvin. Now, what do? Are you allowed to draw water from this pond, or are you not allowed to draw water from this pond? Now let's analyze the situation over here. How do you draw water? You take a bucket, you lower it down into the pond. Now, where did the bucket come from? Let's say the bucket is a keli sheshavas babayis. So you take a keli sheshavas babayis, you're in Chatzer A. You live in Chatzer A. You take your bucket, you take your keli sheshavas babayis in Chatzer A, you bring it over to your side of the wall, and you lower it into the water that's on your side, and you take out water, and you bring that water to the Chatzer. Okay, so far, technically, you don't really see over here much of a problem. What did you do? You took a keli sheshavas babayis, you took it into your Chatzer. You're allowed to do that because you have an Eruv. Now you lowered it down into the water, but you lowered it down into the water on your side of the wall. So l'chayra, you're still inside your Chatzer. Why is there any problem over here at all? The answer is that the Gemara in Eruvin says a concept of ervu mayim. Water is considered to be totally mixed. Therefore, when you look down into the water on your side of the Chatzer, you think that you're seeing water that's in your Chatzer, but you're not. All of the water that's in that pond is considered mixed. The water that you're seeing on your side of the wall is actually your water and their water. It's Chatzer A water and Chatzer B water. When you take your bucket and you lower it down into the water, you're not lowering it into your Chatzer. You're lowering it into an area where your Chatzer and their Chatzer are mixed. And therein lies problem number one. If you took a keli sheshavas babayis, if your bucket was a keli sheshavas babayis, and you took it and you lowered it into the water, what you did was you took a keli sheshavas babayis in your Chatzer, and you lowered it into somebody else's Chatzer. So therein is problem number one. Problem number two, you lowered the bucket into the water, now you draw water up. What are you going to do with that water? To keep that water in the Chatzer maybe wouldn't be a problem. Because don't forget, even without an Eruv, you're allowed to take something from Chatzer A and bring it into Chatzer B. You're always allowed to do that because Kol HaChatzer is Rishus HaChasein. They're all one Rishus. So really that wouldn't be a problem. However, when you take that water, you can't bring that water into your house because that water was shavas in somebody else's chutzner because of erev umayim, and now you're taking water that was shavas in somebody else's chutzner and you're bringing it to your bias. That's a no-no. You're not allowed to do that. So here we have the problems that we have with this pond that's in between the two chatzeres. So now, with this understanding, let's see what the Mechaber says over here in the beginning of Sif Aleph. Bar shebein shtei chatzeres. You have this water hole, this cistern, that's located between the two chatzeres. Ve'ein beineim pesach chaloin sheyuchlu la'arev. And as I told you, these two chatzeres are separated by a wall, and there's no opening in the wall, not a gate, not a window, that's large enough to allow them to join in a combined erev. So they did not combine in a joint erev. They each have their own erev. Or maybe there is a doorway in the wall, but we know that when there is a doorway, you have your options wide open. If you want, you could join in a combined erev, or if you want, you can make two distinct eruvin. So maybe over here they had a doorway, but they chose not to make a combined erev. But whatever the case is, either they couldn't make a combined erev, or they chose not to make a combined erev, and they have this water cistern that is shared. It overlaps the two chatzeros, and it goes under the wall. What's the halacha, says the Mechaber? Ein memalim mimenu b'Shabbos. You are not allowed to draw water up from that cistern on Shabbos. Ela im kain asu mechitza. Unless you make a partition inside the bur. So this partition is going to be down below, underneath the wall. You have the wall that divides the two chatzeros. Now you have to make a wall down below, inside the bar. You've got to make a wall. Asara, it's got to be a partition that's at least 10 tefachim tall. L'mayla min hamayim. And it has to protrude above the water level. You might have in your mind that the water level is the ground level, but who says it is? Maybe the ground level is up here, and the water level is 5 feet lower than the ground level. You should know you got to make a partition inside the bar, and that partition has to be at least partially above the water, and it's also going to have to be at least partially in the water. The Mechaber continues, V'tzarech sheyeh tefach min ha-mechitza yored b'soich hamayim. At least one tefach of this partition has to go into the water. It has to go below the water level. V'im hoisa ha-mechitza kula b'soich hamayim. If you build the partition below the water level, tzarech sheyeh tefach yotzim mimeno l'mayla min hamayim. At least one tefach has to protrude above the water level. Kedei shetiyeh nikeres rishos zeh me rishos zeh. So it should be nicker, it should be recognizable that we are making a differentiation between the two sides. So you have this water hole that's down below. You've got to build a partition in the bar underneath your wall. That partition has to be 10 tefachim tall. It has to be at least 1 tefach above the water level so you could see it from above the water. It's got to be at least 1 tefach beneath the water level. So you could have 9 tefachim above the water level and 1 tefach going down in the water. Or you could have 9 tefachim below the water level and 1 tefach protruding above. If you have that partition, then you could take your bucket from your chutzner, you could lower it into your side of the water, and you could bring water up, and you could take that water even into your bias, assuming you have an erev, because the water is shavas b'chutzner. You have to have an erev on your side in order to take the water and bring it into your house. But assuming you made your own erev, you could take a bucket from your house, you could take a keli shashavas babayis, you could bring it to your side of the water, you could lower it down into the water on your side of the partition, you could draw the water up, and you could take that water into your house. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Aleph, Ve'ein beinehem. You have these two chatzerim, and you have a wall separating them, but there's no opening that allows you to make a joint combined erev. Ritzayna loymar, what the Mechaber means to say is, Shabakaisal amafsik ben chatzeros, in the wall that separates these two chatzeros, ha'imid al gabe abar, this wall that's standing, that's cutting across the two chatzeros above the bar, ein pesach v'chalain. There's no doorway and there's no window. Ein memalin, you're not allowed to draw water. Why not? Because when you draw water, even from your side of the wall, you should know you're lowering your bucket and you're taking water from the other chutzner, because of the concept of ervu mayim, that all the water is considered to be mixed. You're not allowed to do this unless you make a 10 tefach tall partition. That 10 tefachim tall partition that you make down inside the bar serves to separate the two rishuyos, one on one side of the partition and one on the other. And now each one will draw water from his rishus. Now the Chavetz Chaim tells us something very important over here. The wall that's over the bar, the wall that separates the two chatzeros, ein moyel lozeh klal. That's not effective in any way to divide the water. Why? The Chavetz Chaim tells me two rules over here. One is that this partition has to be made specifically to separate the mayim. That has to be the intent of the partition. And the partition that's above ground, the wall that separates the two chatzeros, was not made to separate the water. It was made to separate the chatzeros. And second, and second of all, that partition has to be built. I'm sorry, that was the maintenance crew driving by on their ATV. The partition has to be within the banks of the bar. That partition has to be built down below, inside the walls of the bar. Ice cotton dalit, v'tzarich sheyiyeh. The Mechaber said that you need at least one tefach of this wall has to go beneath the water level. V'tzarich sheyiyeh, kedei sheyiyeh nikar hefsik hamachitza hamachalekes b'sayich hamayim. It has to be recognizable and discernible that we're making a division in the water. So at least one tefach has to go beneath the water level. Even though we're not really dividing the water, because the partition is not going down to the seabed. It's not going down all the way to the ground at the bottom of the water, so we're not really dividing the water. But it has to be a recognizable partition in the water. This is a kula that the Chazal made specifically by water. To make this heter, that with this type of partition you could draw from the water. All we need is, we need a discernible partition so that you're not clearly throwing your dli into this mixed rishus. You're throwing your bucket into your side of a divided water hole. Then, ice cotton hay, the Mechaber said that you have to have at least one tefach. Right? The Mechaber said one tefach has to go beneath the water level. Tefach min ha-machitza. V'chol shekain, certainly, in machatzisa lamato, machatzisa lamayla, if you have a 10 tefach partition, and 5 tefachim are above the water, and 5 tefachim are beneath the water, of course it's good. Don't think the Mechaber meant that only one tefach should go above or below. No, you could have more. Then the Mechaber said, "Amachitza kula." If the whole partition is beneath the water level, hainu shala asar tefachim. If most of the 10 tefachim are beneath the water level, v'hu adin afilu u'mayis arucha yoser. Let's say you had a 20 tefach partition, u'magas ad karka abar. So maybe you made a 20 tefach tall partition, and you lowered that partition. That partition does go all the way down to the ground. Still, tzarich gam kein heker hefsek l'milamayla. You still need a tefach to protrude above the water level, because you need a heker. You need something discernible above the water level, showing the hefsek between the two rishuyos. Ice cotton zayin. The Mechaber said that it has to be nikeres. It has to be discernible that there's a difference between the two sides, that there's a hefsek. Nikeres hahafrasha. The separation between the two chatzeros in the water has to be recognizable above the water level. Ubazeh tefach levad sagi. And for that, a tefach above the water level is enough. Shaloyelech adli l'rishus chaverei. So when you throw in your bucket, it goes on your side. It doesn't go on your friend's side. That's where we're going to stop for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope everything is clear. And as of now, it looks like Mir Hashem will be saying the share live tomorrow night. So I hope to see you in person tomorrow evening. Be well.